How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Samantha Christine, and I have brought us outside today so that we can start to make art that is based on nature. Now over here I do have all of my flowers. I have multiple different sizes of leaves. I have my larger ones and some of my smaller ones more behind me. I also have some really fun flowers over here, and I'm just going to pick a few of those, any that you would like to use. Of course, stopping in with your drawing partner or drawing buddy today. You want to make sure that everyone's on board for the project that we have planned. This is going to be a fun way for you to do printmaking at home, again using very easy materials and things that you probably already have. I have mine set up behind me. I'll be back in just a moment, so go grab your materials, pick your flowers, and join me outside. Go ahead, you want to make sure that your drawing buddy likes the leaves. Oh no! That they like the leaves and the flowers you pick. I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna steal a couple of my pink flowers. I'm gonna take some of the leaves and the actual flowers, and I'm also gonna come over here and pull some of the flowers we have, or the leaves we have, off of this guy, because it gives us a much different look than what we have in the leaves compared to this one. So you want to make sure that you have a variety of shapes and sizes in the flowers that you are selecting, and once you have them, you can go ahead and head back to your palette and get ready to paint. Look how beautiful these are, all of these fun colors, shapes, and sizes. We got super tiny ones, these big leaves. I'm so excited. I'm going to get started with this leaf. So I'm going to take my paint and just paint on this leaf. Again, I'm using my greens for the leaves. You can use any color you would like. You want to make sure that you get kind of like a nice even coating of this paint onto your leaf. Get the edges. And you want to continue this until your leaf or your flower is completely covered in that paint color. All right, so I have my leaf covered in green. I'm gonna switch brushes so that that one can get cleaned off. Getting my smaller brush, I'm gonna take some of that yellow, and I'm going to just accent some of those little veins or little lines that you saw on your leaf, just so that when I print this, I get a little bit more of that detail. And they don't have to be perfect. I'm not worried about following the lines or trying to see where it was. But once you have this ready to go, we're gonna switch gears and print this leaf. All right, so I have my paper, I have my leaf, it's ready and it's painted, and all I'm going to do is stamp this onto the sheet of paper. Again, trying to keep it flat and pushing all the sides so you make sure you get all those details. Similar to how we did our printmaking, or our prints in the printmaking video, this is going to be another method. But instead of using styrofoam or an image you carved, we are using nature and the prints that we have available because of the lines in our leaves. Now, this is going to be our first print. Maybe I see some areas that needed a little bit more paint. I can go back and try this again, or I can try layering more images on top of that one. I'm going to show that first, so I'm going to show a variety of different prints on one piece of paper, but we can see how going back into these leaves and repainting them will give us a variety of different prints. So all I'm doing here is taking my large brush, I'm adding some water to it, and then I'm pulling it into those colors so that my colors kind of start to bleed and run together in the center of my palette. And I'm going to now take this leaf, which is kind of spirally and kind of pokey, and I'm going to, with the open face of it, so in here, I'm going to just stamp it into those colors, and whatever it picks up is going to be what I end up printing. Now, as much as I try not to make a mess in art, sometimes it's inevitable and sometimes it's a lot of fun. So don't worry about messing up the colors on your palette and making a little bit of a mess, but once you think you have a good amount of colors on here, we are going to take it up to our paper and we're going to stamp it just wherever you think you'd like to have it. I'm crushing one of my flowers. All right, so I have them and I'm just going to start laying them down. And it kind of makes a very fun like firework effect very sporadic. And I really like the colors and how they start to blend together when doing this. All right. So I'm going to switch leaves one more time, and I might pick up one of those pink flowers so I can continue to add to this print. I'm going to start by taking my smaller flower that I have, and I'm going to take some of that purple paint, and I'm just going to paint the petals and making sure that I get a nice coverage of that paint all over so that I can really get the shape of these petals in my print. If you see any spots, make sure you kind of get them all. You don't want to leave any empty. And it's okay if your hands get a little messy. That's why we have soap and water. So don't worry too much about that. All right, now I'm going to get this ready to print onto the paper. I'm going to start here, and with that same stamping method, I'm going to just press it onto the sheet of paper, and I'm going to repeat this in a few different areas. So once you get that first stamp on there, gently lift your flower, making sure that it doesn't rip. All right. Oh, I did lose a little bit of it, but that's why we can always go back and pick up more. This will be the third print with that purple flower. And think about overlapping. I've done it a little bit up top, but overlap where you're putting these prints, because overlapping your images and your shapes can really help create space in your pictures, which is always really nice. Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm gonna keep working, and I'm just gonna fill up this sheet of paper, and I'll come back to start with a new print. I said I'd come back when I started my second print, but I did go ahead and I created this really fun line, and I wanted to show us how we did that. So I took my palette and I ran the stem through my yellow paint. So once I had that, I then was able to lay it onto the image and kind of drag it wherever I ended up wanting that stem to go. And I think those kind of turn out really fun. I'm gonna do that one more time. I dipped it in my yellow paint, I got more on there, and now I'm gonna take this up and through the flowers. Again, overlapping and mixing my image. I'll do it one more time. That looks really good. I'm super excited about this. So again, oh, I even got some green on there. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna follow this back up through my image, just dragging it along the paper. All right. Again, I will continue to work on this. If I find more fun ways to use my flowers, I will show you. Other than that, I will return to start a second print. So I went ahead and I grabbed a second paper plate, and I'm going to just take some of my colors. So I want a little bit of my yellow and just a little bit of my green, and I'm going to mix them together so that I get this really nice lime green. It's a little bit different than the color straight out of the tube, which is fun. And you can see that my brush wasn't very clean. I had some orange pop off in there, but that's okay. And I will be adding just a little bit of water. So I want to make sure that that's nice and wet, kind of like an even little coating right there. And I'm going to be taking my leaves, this one here, and stamping it again into that color. This one's very light, it's almost very flimsy, so I'm just going to press and have it pick up all that green. And now I didn't do the whole leaf, I really only wanted that top little bit. So I'm going to use this now and start printing it onto my paper. That one was really cool, so I'm gonna ink it again. I'm gonna get that paint on there, making sure that it's all covered in that green color. Again, I only did the top part of my leaf. I'm going to come in here and add a second one. And I'm being very random with where I lay them on the paper. I really just want to have some fun with this and see how they turn out. So I'm going to continue to ink my leaf in that green and fill this up a few more times. I will probably put maybe 3 more on there, and then I will come back and switch to a different flower. All right, so I went ahead and I grabbed this other leaf. You can see it's very different than the shape I had before, and I just went in and I made a darker green this time, and I will be inking that leaf in that darker green and then printing it over top of some of the leaves I already have on my paper. So I'm just gonna get this one filled with color real quick, and then I can come back and maybe I wanna fill up that white space on that side. And I just lift that up. And because they're 2 different shades of green, but they're still green, it's coming up as a very monochromatic look, which is really nice. Monochromatic is just an image used all in the same color, but with different values. So I have my lighter green and my darker green, and it's really starting to build up on top of each other. Again, using that overlapping method, I can create a fun design by just using some leaves and flowers that I found outside. I'm gonna continue to layer some prints on top of these, and I'll be back in a moment. It's the first one down. I've added more purple to my flower, and I'm going to stamp these again randomly. I'm keeping mine kind of doubled up. Wherever I put one, I've put the second and now the third. And I'm just going to continue this until I have enough flowers, until I'm happy with how it looks. Remember, there's really no rules here. It's however many you would like. Ooh, I'm gonna have a double print. And that's okay too. See, I'm not worried that I made a mistake there. I'm not worried that it double printed. If I wanted, I could go ahead and loosely place little flower prints all over. And that's all okay. If that's what makes me happy, if that's what I want it to look like, then that's how I should make it. So that'll be my last purple, and I'm gonna switch colors once more and see what else I can add to this print. All right, so I also pulled these tiny little itty bitty flowers, or these leaves off, so I'm going to place these just very loose into my orange paint so that some of those leaves pick up the color. And then I will be taking this and very loosely pressing those little circles, not trying to be perfect, but I get really fun little lines from these and little tiny marks. Because it is kind of like a little bundle, they probably won't be perfect little circular prints of your leaf, but I can go in and add a really fun extra element of color and kind of like a little extra pop of color into this as well. As you can see, it went from something very monochromatic in the beginning using just those greens, and as I've added more colors, it is no longer monochromatic, but I am having a lot of fun pressing all these little leaves in here. So I'm gonna kind of just take it randomly so it looks like they're all kind of connected. And I really, really enjoy how that's turned out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to reveal the first print, and we want to remember that for both of them we use the same colors, but how drastically different they ended up being. So this was the first one. And we can see the great use of line and color in this image. It's very expressionistic. We have a ton of use of line. It almost reminds me of a firework display or something like that. I loved how this turned out, and I will be posting a final picture of these at the end so you can see them next to each other. And our second print that we were able to make today was this. We can see how we didn't have a lot of those upward moving or vertical lines like what we had in the first image, but we were able to create something drastically different, which is very, very exciting considering we use the same printing method, pretty much the same flowers or leaves, and the same colors. We can see that we used a more repetitive motion. We stamped our images repeatedly, so it kind of makes it look like kind of makes it look like a pattern, excuse me. And I was very excited when this turned out. I could almost see it being printed onto a t-shirt, which is super cool. And I really actually had fun making these. I hope you had as much fun too. And remember that art doesn't have to always be made sitting inside at a desk. You can always take your materials outside, enjoy the air, pick your flowers, and paint something new. I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did, and come back for more at-home art lessons and fun projects.